Every year, 17 million people take the big gamble. They go for a holiday by the sea, knowing perfectly well there's a 50-50 chance of a year's savings going down the drain. But even the most unpredictable climate in the world can't stop 17 million of us from answering the call. Come to Blackpool, dry and bracing. Come to Brighton on the sunniest coast of England. Come to Southend, the best place under the sun. Come to Weston-super-Mare for fun in the sun. Come to Scarborough, on the drier side of Britain, and so on. Sometimes the sun does shine. The big gamble pays off, and some of the 17 million people hit the jackpot. What is the jackpot? Why do people like to be beside the sea? Let's look at a fine warm day in a single seaside town. Somewhere not too big, not too small. Somewhere like this, on the coast of Kent at the height of the holiday season. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and a sunny day is just beginning. This place has been here for 150 years. As a matter of fact, Charles Dickens used to live here at Bleak House, Broadstairs. The town hasn't changed much since his day, when only the wealthy few could afford to go to the seaside. Now, in these days of holidays with pay, thousands come here. Broadstairs has grown up with the seaside holiday. Of course, there have been a few changes to suit modern tastes. Eight o'clock in the morning. 100 gallons of ice cream is being mixed and frozen, all to be eaten in threepennies and sixpennies before the day is out. But it isn't ice cream or candy floss or bubble gum or slot machines that bring people here. The two big attractions are just the same as they were when seaside holidays began: the sea and the sand. Yesterday's rubbish is being taken away, and the sea and the sand are nearly ready for today's invasion of holidaymakers. But for the first arrivals, the day ahead is no holiday. For the donkeys with their endless plodding up and down, or for Smokey the clown, who has to be funny 7 days a week for 12 weeks. 9 o'clock in the morning, and two very important people arrive: the man in charge of the sand and the man in charge of the sea.
The sea is my responsibility, and that includes the safeguarding of human life. When this bay is covered at high water, then it's all mine. When the tide is out and the sands are dry, then Mr. Beak takes over.
Yes, I'm in charge of the sands. In about an hour's time, there'll be over 10,000 people on those sands, and my door is open to all of them from 9 in the morning until 10 at night. At the beginning of the day, I often wonder who I'll meet out of all those thousands.
But where are all these thousands, and who shall we meet? They're all here somewhere, having breakfast in the 185 boarding houses, guest houses, or private hotels. Here, perhaps, 1 minute from sea and main bay, the guidebook says. Or here, hot and cold water in all bedrooms, separate tables, few seconds from sea. Or here, all rooms have interior spring mattresses, majority have bedside lamps adjacent to sea. Or here, excellent Yorkshire cooking 1 minute from sea and bandstand. Or here, where we find Mr. and Mrs. Birchall from London.
We're staying in a boarding house. It's costing us 7.5 guineas a week, half for the children. There's the wife and the 2 children. It's the first holiday we've had for 5 years.
The children have been too young before to bring away on holiday. I think this year they're just about the right age. I've taken on a part-time job 2 evenings a week. I'm a waitress. And of course I make quite a bit of money to help towards these extras, these luxuries.
We wait until the last few weeks and really have a purge. We sort of cut everything to the bone and save everything for the holiday.
Not far away, spending their first seaside holiday, are Mr. and Mrs. Gowland from the north.
The wife and I and the 3 children are staying here at a boarding house for a fortnight, and we're paying 5 guineas per week.
Well, we had planned to go to Austria a few years ago, but we had the twins, so this time we came to the seaside.
My job's domestic service. I've been in service for the past 25 years as a cook, butler, valet. Coming to the seaside and living in the boarding house is quite a relaxation for me to have other people to wait on me. As one that's done all this type of work, I find that it is a great relaxation to just sit back and have other people wait on me.
And this, the guidebook says, is a first-class hotel overlooking the sea. Staying here is Mr. Brigden, who has escaped from the city.
My wife and I, and our daughter Valerie, age 15, are staying here for a week's holiday. It's not our main holiday. We hope to go to Belgium this year, but it's what I call the extra week. A week that I look on as being one for rest rather than hectic holiday making.
Some people, of course, for one reason or another, take their holidays alone. They seem to go on going to the seaside all their lives. Perhaps it's less lonely there. Perhaps it's full of memories. Perhaps it's because of the timelessness of it all. The pattern never changes. 10 o'clock in the morning. Everybody in the town will be walking in one direction and one direction only, towards the sea. The sea seems to pull them all down like a magnet. It's easy to see what the kids get out of it, especially when there's a clown thrown in for laughs.
Yeah. I put my funny red nose on now. Oops. Oh, nearly went in my mouth, didn't it? Ah, you're the little boy that pushed me in the water last week, didn't you?
Yeah, and you will get another duck in this week.
But the beach attracts young and old alike. The 10,000 people are all here. Somewhere among them are Mr. and Mrs. Birchall.
We seem to make for the beach every morning, automatically. Walk straight down to the beach, collect our deck chairs, sit down. The reason we pick the same spot mainly is we're rather near the litter bin. And they do love picking up little bits on the beach and running backwards and forwards to the litter bin. They think they're being so clever, tidying up the beach. Well, I must say I'm rather lazy. I just sit. Dennis digs the hole and bigger and bigger. As fast as he's digging it, Tony's filling it in, wondering why it isn't getting any bigger. Well, I think I just like to see them playing on the beach and just enjoying themselves normally. I think they look so cute, running around in bathing suits. And I get a kick out of it somehow, just sitting there watching them.
Simple way to spend a morning, isn't it? Yet thousands do exactly the same thing. Mr. and Mrs. Gowland, for instance.
Well, every morning we wander down to the beach and sit there and the children play and have a paddle. My husband makes some sand castles.
As a matter of fact, I think it's the most easiest way of relaxing in the world. I think it's marvellous to watch the children thoroughly and enjoying themselves, running down to the waterfront, running back again, knocking the sandcastles down that Daddy's worked hard to build. Really wonderful. If one really wants to relax, sit on the seafront and just listen to the sea roll in.
And what are they all thinking about?
All I ever do, it seems to be doing, is just keeping the children amused, running into the water. My main thoughts are really all the time of children, just to see that they're keeping happy and they're enjoying themselves, and I don't really think about anything else myself.
This is probably the last holiday I shall have for a few years, as I'm leaving my present job, domestic service, and branching out on my own. I've bought a fish and chip shop business in the north. Of course, it's going to be jolly hard work in the beginning. It's no easy matter starting from scratch, and that's what I'm starting from. But I think I'll come through in the end.
I'm afraid I'm rather a nosy type. I like to look at people and wonder what they do for a living, if they're on holiday, where they come from, if they're enjoying themselves, and what type of people they really are when they're out of swimsuits.
The Brigdens arrive a little later.
The reason why we go to the seaside rather than perhaps the country is mainly due, I suppose, to an ingrained habit which grows with one from childhood. When we were children, we always went to the sea, and it becomes, as I say, a habit which continues as one grows older.
I suppose it is comforting to go back year after year and find that nothing's changed. Even the clown puts on the same old Punch and Judy show, 7 days a week for 12 weeks of the year.
Everybody says, "Good morning, Uncle Smokey." And they say to their mums and dads, "That's Uncle Smokey over there, Daddy. That's Uncle Smokey over there, Mummy." That really makes the day when everybody's friendly.
Hello, oh, Mr. Punch, put that stick down. I've got a little job for you.
Hold him still! What? Hold him still with one hand! Hold him still? What did they do him?
11 o'clock in the morning. The holiday is in full swing, but as I said before, for some it's no holiday. What about the landladies?
I've been running this boarding house now for 13 years. We've got 14 bedrooms here. We usually cater for 33 people, including children. We charge 5 guineas a week in August, of course half price for the kiddies. I do all the cooking myself, and all the washing and the ironing, but the 2 girls help me with the vegetables and the bedrooms. We never get a lot of time for sitting down through the day, and as for the food, I get sick of the sight of the food. All I ever have is just a boiled egg now and again. It's usually the working class people that are the most grateful for what you do for them. You get the upper class people come down, they just think you're doing it because you're paid to do it. But with the working class people, they're really grateful for what you do and they appreciate everything.
I have been here in Broadstairs now 11 years, and I have run this guest house for that many years. I take around 16 to 17 people. I have 7 let-in bedrooms. Our charge is 7 guineas a week, and we take children. We babysit for them and generally out the mother, and we do our best to get them out on evenings so that their time is free and they can get with hubby.
My home, I feel, is home from home. I keep it that way because so many people like to feel the atmosphere of home, and if they come away from good homes, they do like to go into a good home.
I'm the manager of the leading hotel in the town. We have 31 bedrooms and we can accommodate approximately 50 guests. During August, our present terms are 12 guineas a week, inclusive. They will, like everybody else, I suppose, go up again next year. My morning really starts by checking that the staff are on duty. I employ, at the present time, 21 employees. I then have to check the guests leaving, guests arriving, see that the dining room are informed of those leaving and those arriving so that tables may be allotted. I then check the bar stocks, make a list out of the quantities of goods to be brought up from the cellars. This year, relief managers will be taking over in October to enable us to take our holidays. My wife and I will be going over to Spain, spending a fortnight in Spain.
12 o'clock midday, and it's certainly no holiday for the man in charge of the sand. His office door is still open to all and sundry.
Come in.
How would you like this for your breakfast?
Not very much. How long have you been putting up with this?
2 weeks.
Have you spoken to your landlady about it?
I didn't come down here to have rows, and anyway, I've got a train to catch.
I get a lot of little complaints of all sorts during the course of the season, not necessarily concerning the sands, but about accommodation, food, etc. I always ask people whether they have complained to their landlady, and invariably they say no. For example, there's the chap who can't stomach eggs for breakfast. Instead of asking his landlady quietly whether he might have toast instead, he puts up with the eggs throughout his holiday, then comes and sees me on the very last day. It's my policy to listen to all complaints. It's not always possible to do anything about them, but people seem pleased if they can come to someone like me and get it off their chest. If they go out of this office door feeling happier than when they came in, then I feel I've done my job.
1 o'clock. Bang on the dot, most of the 10,000 people sit down to lunch. And that's all part of the big gamble. Food is very important when you're on holiday.
Usually very nice, very well laid out, very clean, always cold water on the table. The lunches are very, very good in themselves, very sustaining. They keep me going quite well.
Believe me, it's really lovely to just go down, sit down and have your lunch brought to you. And our two do play up sometimes at meal times, but on the whole they are behaving very well down here, much better than they do at home normally.
Of course, when you've worked for a person that spends in the region of 2,000 a year on food, it makes one rather critical. But then, I'm not here to criticise. I'm on holiday. I'm just relaxing. If I went down into that kitchen for an hour, I could organise a 5-course meal consisting of tomato soup, fried fillet of Dover sole, roast fillet of beef, followed by a chocolate souffle with cream, and then a cheese savoury, followed by coffee.
We usually come into lunch about 1 o'clock. Appreciate the variety of the menu as much as the elasticity of the hour for lunch, which extend normally from about 12 till 2. The actual food, of course, I say this with all due respect to my wife, is more varied than one gets at home. And one has a choice, and one appreciates the fact that one can choose perhaps hot or cold meals according to the state of the weather or one's own inclination.
Others take their lunch according to their inclinations.
Fancy carrying this thing along the beach for 12 weeks. I'm going to get one with wheels on next year.
Two o'clock in the afternoon, at the height of the holiday season. Three o'clock. Everybody's back on the beach. The sun is a little hotter now, and home seems a long, long way away.
I'm getting a relaxation here. I'm not having to worry about the job. The routine is another thing I'm getting away from. The business of coming home in the evening, sitting down, not seeming to be doing much after that, then going up to bed, up the next morning, out to work again. Every day seems the same. Even weekends are beginning to look the same now.
I don't seem to have the worries I've got at home. Shopping, that's another thing, drives me up the wall at home. We haven't got that here.
I think that myself, that if I ran a boarding house, personally, I could put on a better bill of fare and make the meals more enjoyable.
If I didn't have children, I'd probably go to the seaside, but to a place with much more life. Dancing, fun fairs, entertainment. I love crowds, and in a small place you don't get too many crowds.
Well, if I didn't have children, well, I think I'd go lots of places of interest that I've never been to. I'd go to the Broads, go to Lake District, Scotland, Wales. I think I'd go anywhere really where I could have a bit of relaxation and entertainment in the evening. I like an occasional dance and I like the drink. My real ambition is to go to a holiday in Spain and see a bullfight. That's what I really want to see before I finish.
After lunch, we usually go down to the jetty. I like the jetty, I think, better than any other part of Broadstairs. It has such an old-world atmosphere about it. Indeed, I think it is the oldest part of Broadstairs. I like the smell of the tarred ropes and the seaweed and the masts of the boats in the harbour swaying gently from side to side. It gives it such a nautical aspect. Dorothy, that's my wife, and I usually sit in deck chairs. I read. I always take a naval book or some sort of a story of the sea. I find that the sea breaking round the jetty gives me an added atmosphere in reading the book, rather like going to a cinema with stereophonic sound. My wife, she busies herself with her knitting, and Valerie, usually goes off to watch the fishermen or look at the boats bobbing in the harbour.
Not everybody is content to sit by the sea or on the sea. Some people actually go in it, and that's where the man in charge of the sea takes over.
The duties of a harbour master in a seaside resort is vastly different to that of a commercial harbour. One of my duties is the interests of the public whilst bathing. We employ safety boatmen. There's one out there now, for instance. His job is a very tedious one. Holidaymakers often say to me they envy him, but I wouldn't have his job for all the tea in China. He's got to sit out there, rolling, rocking around, putting up with the shouts and the screams of the holidaymakers enjoying themselves, keeping a weather eye on all the bathers that decide they're going to swim the channel, and they decide they're going to swim out beyond this old pier. They go out there, the safety boatman goes after them and usually warns them. He doesn't always get a kind remark back. Sometimes he's told to go to hell. Another time he's told, don't you worry about me, old chap, I'm insured. But we've yet to see insurance cards holding anybody up once they get into trouble.
Well, I suppose people at the seaside tend to take life a bit light-heartedly, but behind the scenes there are some who take it rather more seriously.
Now, gentlemen, we come to minute number 242. This concerns the renewal of the privilege of operating the Peter Pan Railway on the sands. Call upon Councillor Valsler.
Madam Chairman, I consider we should not allow the Peter Pan Railway to continue. We have seen the town go down and down with each new commercial innovation.
Madam Chairman, as a lifelong resident of this town, I maintain Broadstairs does not want this kind of entertainment. We definitely can do without this exploitation, and I consider this is only the thin end of the wedge. And if we allow this thing to continue, we should presently have a fun fair, possibly coconut shies, and all the various things which go with this type of entertainment.
Madam Chairman, I am appalled by the previous speakers who seem to me at least 3 or 4 decades out of date. The Peter Pan Railway has transformed a useless and untidy corner into a place of pleasure and happiness.
Madam Chairman, I feel sure that Queen Victoria and Charles Dickens would not receive too great a shock if they came to Broadstairs again, and I'm certain they would approve the Peter Pan Railway.
All those in favour?
7.
Those against?
5.
The motion is carried, and the Peter Pan Railway will continue to operate on our sands.
And the children continued to enjoy it all.
There is always one child that follows me about the beach and never leaves my side. Normally, I suppose one people would get fed up with the kiddie, saying Uncle Smokey, the same child all the time, but I don't know, they're all the same, they're very nice. If we didn't have them following us, there wouldn't be no clowns, would there?
4 o'clock, I need hardly say, is tea time, and for Mr. Gowland, something of a butler's holiday.
I think that through lack of experience, they don't just put the various things in, the condiments into the food, to make it exciting as one normally does. And one is naturally coming away from one's own kitchen and feels that if the food is up to scratch, then the holiday is perfect.
"5 o'clock and the drift away from the beach begins. The day isn't over yet, but 10,000 people know that bang on the dot, that bell's going to ring again and there's another meal to catch.
When it's very hot and people come back from the beach, they don't really want a hot stew. I think that a nice salad with a bit of cold ham or a bit of cold tongue, or even I've talked to people that would much prefer to have just a nice thick slice of bread and butter with a hunk of cheese and a few pickles.
Even with a widened sphere of travel, I do feel that my holiday is not complete without at least a short visit to the English coast. And there's nothing, in my opinion, which comes nearly up to the joy and pleasant restfulness of an English summer holiday by the sea.
Of course, we are very lucky. We've had wonderful weather on this holiday. It's been really marvellous. I hate to think what it would have been like if it had rained every day, the normal English summer.
I think if we didn't have good weather, I'd be really cheesed off, wouldn't know what to do.
It's a whole gamble. The whole of a holiday's a gamble. Weather, everything. You never know what you're going to do when you get here. And you just take a chance, and if the weather's good, we have a good time.
Yes, you have a good time, something money can't buy. But for the people behind the scenes, a good time means millions of pennies for looking through telescopes, millions of pennies for sitting in deck chairs. For them, the big gamble pays off in terms of hard cash. But for most of us, a day by the sea is not a profit or a loss. It's something we remember all our lives. Nobody seems to have done very much, but as the day draws to a close, something seems to be over.
Hello, Uncle Smokey. I've come to say goodbye.
You've come to say goodbye?
Yeah.
So you're going home tomorrow, are you?
Yes, I am.
Have you had a very nice holiday?
Yes, thank you.
Well, cheerio. Bye-bye.
Sure.
See you again next year.
Right. Sure.
Bye-bye.
7 o'clock, and for the children, the day is over.
Well, after we've had our supper, we go up and start the routine of getting the children ready for bed. They're really ready for it by then. They've been so busy during the day doing nothing. We get them into bed, and then the thing I really look forward to is getting myself ready to go out for a couple of hours.
Light music, I think, is the ideal fare for evening listening, particularly at the seaside. One doesn't want anything too heavy.
We usually go down to the local pub, have a drink. I usually like a brown and mild, and Pat usually has a gin and pep.
The cabbage is soggy, potatoes are parboiled instead of being fully boiled, and they just sit there and play with it, and really they're ravenous.
Whether they're grumbling about the food or dreaming of going to Spain, whether they're escaping from city life or just remembering, people seem to go on going to the seaside all their lives. 8 o'clock in the evening. A fine, warm day is ending.
Hello, Arthur. Hello, Les. Had a good day?
Well, with the weather like it is today, one just can't go wrong, but this wretched wind's freshening up now, so let's hope it'll clear up by tomorrow. How about yourself?
Apart from one or two of those tiny complaints, things have gone pretty well.
Good.
It's been a nice sunny day. People have been enjoying themselves.
And now they've all gone home. 10,000 people, 6 donkeys, a toy railway, and 1 clown.
Oh, when I've finished my day's work, I look forward to tomorrow's day's work. One day's exactly the same as another, and well, I'm always glad when the next day does come. To hear the children all happy again, laughing.
Yes, and there'll be 10,000 people back on that beach tomorrow, if it doesn't rain. Why do people like to be beside the sea? I don't know. But one thing I do know. 17 million of us will all take the big gamble again next year.